What is up, everybody? My name is Guillaume, this is Thomann's Guitars and Basses, and welcome to today's episode of Hit the Tone, where we're going to talk about the song My Own Summer Shove It by Deftones, starting with our guitar setup. And we're talking about the legend that is Carpenter, and has done, one of those people that's done so much for 7-string guitars, for ambient guitar, for metal guitar, one of the most copied, I think, or at least guitar players that influenced, let's put it that way, a lot of people. So it is kind of a shame that his signature guitar was not in stock, but this is definitely the closest thing to it. He plays ESP LTD guitars with Fishman Fluence modern ceramic, if I'm not mistaken. He has his own signature set, of course. But this is the Sir Headley signature guitar. This is Heads from Korn. And it is very similar. Steven, I think, to this day, doesn't use the Evertune bridge, so you might consider that a slight difference. But, you know, 7-string guitar, modern, sort of high output voiced humbuckers. Yeah. That's about it. That's very close to his actual signature guitar, so I was happy about this. Let's now have a look at our amp and pedal setup. And now this is something that I haven't done on this format at all, but you guys have requested that a lot, and that is to use a modeler. Now, I'm not using it in isolation. I'm using the Headrush MX5 because Stephen Carpenter is a big user of Axe FX. It was very early on to the modeling sort of game, but not only. So I'm going to be using the Headrush MX5. I made a preset based on the industrial one. Honestly, I didn't touch much, but I just deactivated the impulse response, so the cab simulation from that unit, because I'm running it into the effects return of my JCM 800 lead series combo. Now, this is my take on it. I think it does sound pretty close, but Stephen Carpenter was using, and is still using, a whole lot of Marshall power amplifiers, so like tube power amplifiers, in his live rig. I don't know where it stands nowadays, but I think it was like a hybrid with the Axe FX3 and the Marshall and some analog pedals as well. Like it's such an incredible rig. Like, yeah. Anyways, so I'm going to be using that. So just the amp as well as a slight boost based on a very green type of pedal, followed by an EQ to sort of recover some of the mids and some of the treble that's lost with that super high gain amp type of simulation, and running that directly into the back of the amp that we're making as usual. And obviously, because we're just going into the effects return of the amp, every control on the front is basically rendered useless. I left the presence at about 12 o'clock and the master at 9. These are the only two knobs that are really going to have an effect, but everything else is basically bypassed. Now, as you guys might have noticed, I also have a noise gate, and that's only because I cannot turn it off. Chris and I have done a video review of that unit, and we already couldn't figure out where the noise gate was. And yeah, I just didn't want to look into it too much today. So there is also a noise gate, which he did use noise gates as well. So, you know, that's accurate. Let's say that was a feature, not a bug. But anyways, I'm super happy with that sound. Let's now move on to the final part of that video, which as usual is the most important, and is how to play the riff. And there's quite a few things to take into account before we get into the lesson. First off, that all of the gear that I'm using today is pretty much expandable. There are so many different modelers and type of like floorboard preamps. Obviously the Axe FX stuff, but also Camper, Line 6, Helix, and HX Stomp, and all of those units will do a very similar job at what I'm doing today with the Headrush. So I'll drop a link below with a bunch of recommendations so that you guys can see if something catches your eyes. For this particular song, and Deftones in general, you want to pay attention to the tuning because it does vary quite a bit. Right now, this is tuned in drop C sharp. You can absolutely do that with a 6-string guitar as well, but mileage may vary. Like Deftones have been using a lot of different drop tunings and standard and open tunings on 7 strings, so it can get kind of tricky. But this one, drop C sharp. Now let's have a closer look at how to play the riff exactly. And I think this is probably one of the best possible riffs to start going into like that heavy guitar. If you're looking at 7 strings, if you want to go in that territory, My Own Summer is one of the best riffs I think ever written. It's just the right balance of like that ambient aspect that you can find in Deftones. It's just the powerhouse of a riff that comes in on the chorus, and then the sort of bridge that's a little bit more chordy, more melancholic. There's just so much to that song, and the sheer sound of it is just absolutely incredible. So I think this is a really good place to start if you're going into 7-string or just heavy guitars in general. Really, really great riff to learn and just satisfying to play overall. But with that said, I think that's it, guys. You have all the tools you need to hit the tone on My Own Summer, Shove It by Deftones. As usual, I hope you appreciated that episode. Maybe that you've learned a thing or two today, and if so, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on what's coming next, and please, please, please do let me know in the comment section which song you'd like me to cover next, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. But with that said, I wish you all a fantastic week, and I'll see you next Monday in a new episode of Hit the Tone. Take care, guys.